Hello and welcome back to The Who Look, where we're going to be having a look at the Season 1 teaser trailer. Yes, I said Season 1. There's been references about it going back a few months now, but the release of the trailer on YouTube confirms that it is in fact Season 1. Although I have no problem with them going back to 1, the whole point of this was it's meant to be a fresh start, especially with the Disney deal. I'm slightly annoyed that they use season again, considering the classic era is labelled seasons, whereas the revival is called series. Maybe Shooty's run should have gone with something separate, like chapter or book, but clearly Russell and the BBC know what they're doing. So I've split this trailer up, and I've grouped up the clips to what I believe is going to be the episodes. So rather than following through the trailer from start to finish, I'm going to go through what I believe is the grouped up episodes. Starting with the scene with the Doctor, Ruby, and a mysterious woman standing behind them in a hallway. I'm in two halves about who this woman is standing behind them due to information that came out a couple of months ago. Part of me believes that it's a unique character for the episode, but part of me also thinks that the Doctor might bump into Martha here. Even though it's not clear who the person is, the pose and the hairstyle give me Martha vibes from Series 3. Considering there was a few rumours a couple of months ago about a secret guest who was being snuck onto set, this could be Martha who was actually that secret guest. Based on the clothing that we see the Doctor wearing in this scene, this is part of the same episode. Not much is given away here, but it looks like he's frantically trying to activate this button, which looks like it's a switch of some kind. Likely power related, as when he's holding it, the background goes from dark to lit. Then we see what I believe is the monster of this special. I don't recognise this monster, so I feel like it's an original monster for the series, which doesn't surprise me, as Russell announced a while ago that he wasn't going to focus on the usual classics. The backdrop to this scene and the following scene of the Doctor and Ruby screaming show that it's likely these episodes are still linked together. The fact that their outfits are changing so much throughout this season is really helping to determine which episodes are which. That doesn't mean it's right. Some clothing could go over multiple episodes, just as we've seen the outfits worn in the Christmas special are going to be carried over into episode 1 likely. Although the Doctor's shirt does seem to change. We finally get this last scene, which doesn't give anything away, but it's the Doctor saying, "No job, no boss, just fun." This is likely the Doctor explaining to Ruby what it's like going to be travelling with him. I feel like this is likely episode 1, as we see shots of Ruby wearing the exact same clothing that she wore in the Church of Ruby Road Christmas special. As we can see, this is the best shot of Ruby we've had so far for this episode. She's standing in a room with a couple of tanks behind her. Maybe these tanks are related some way to the monster we saw before. While the Doctor is not wearing his jacket in the scene so far, it does look like he starts with a jacket and will take it off during the episode. We get what appears to be Ruby experiencing travel in the TARDIS for the first time, as she is shocked when she leaves the TARDIS, probably the experience of being in one spot and then coming out in a different area, whilst the Doctor is standing in the TARDIS doorway, seemingly amused by it all. Then there's the scene that I feel like carries on directly from where they left off in the TARDIS in the Christmas special. The Doctor stands in the exact same spot that he was standing, and then he snaps his fingers to close seemingly the door. I'm not sure how this works though, because from the Christmas episode, Ruby shuts the door after she first walks in. Next, we jump to a new episode. We know for sure this one is episode 2, and it's called The Devil's Chord. It's set in the 1960s, where we see the Doctor running through Abbey Road Studios, where this episode's setting will mainly be. We then see the Doctor and Ruby getting changed into some more era-appropriate clothing before heading down to the studio to what seemingly looks like them getting excited about seeing the Beatles. We then get a look at our baddie for this episode. It's no surprise that the villain here is a musical-themed villain, considering their location and the Beatles being part of the plot. We don't know too much about the villain yet, other than it's being played by Jinx Monsoon. Wearing an outfit that is basically a giant keyboard. The following scene shows the Doctor playing on a guitar when something unseen and unheard happens in the background, and seems to shock him and leaves him a little shaken as he looks off into the distance. The next episode that we know about is episode 6. Whilst we don't know what the official title is called yet, it has a working title of Regency. The episode is set in the 1810s and features Jonathan Groff's character, who since his announcement has had lots of speculation that he will be the recast version of Captain Jack Harkness. I don't feel like this is the case, and I don't think Jack will get recast no matter what. I feel like this is an original character for the episode. I suspect he's not a bad guy, but he's not necessarily a good guy either. The Doctor spends the first scene dancing with Groff's mystery character before eventually they stop and he shouts at him saying, "You can't." I suspect Groff's character is there to kill someone or something and the Doctor is trying to stop him. Here we get to see Indira Varma's character making a return to the Doctor Who universe after appearing as Susie Costello in the Torchwood series. So far, all we know about her character is she's called the Duchess. Next we see Groff's character pulling out a very futuristic gun at the Doctor. Again, I don't think he's going to be the bad guy, but I think him and the Doctor will be at odds against each other. Another reason I don't believe this character will be a recast Jack, because I don't think this is something that Jack would do to the Doctor. We get to see Ruby seemingly trying to knock someone out with a book in a library setting. The final scene we see of this episode is what seems to be the Doctor standing in a room that looks a little bit like it has an alien sort of feel to it. Doesn't feel like 1810s, but he's wearing his 1810s getup. He's also holding his Sonic up and saying, "Classic." Considering I'm pretty sure we've now covered episode 1, definitely 3, and definitely 6, we're left with 3, 4, and 5. I don't expect 7 or 8 to be shown properly in this trailer. Now, this episode appears to show it's a unit-themed episode. It features the return of Mel, who's with the Doctor on a moped, seemingly trying to get away from something quickly. There's clearly something dangerous after them, as we can see in the background many people running away in the scene. Although there's nothing clear on what they are running from in the trailer, I feel like one enemy shown later on will be the enemy, which I'll get to. At some point, the Doctor will end up inside of Una, which makes sense considering Mel was currently working for Una, and she was with him, where we see Yasmin Finney's Rose return to the show. Although we saw Donna seemingly offered the job, and she seemingly accepted the role with Una, perhaps now Rose is also working with Una, as otherwise it makes little sense to why she's on the top floor of Una HQ, unless of course she bumps into the Doctor elsewhere. But this seems to be when they first meet each other again, because of their reaction in the trailer. This is the exact same location where the Giggle took place. It's looking mostly identical as it did in the Giggle, except some minor changes where the desk lights have changed from yellow to white instead. Although we don't see anything here, you can expect that the Vlinks will return in this scene, seeing as that's where we were set up in the Giggle. You can also probably expect there'll be a little reference to either Donna or any family member or the 14th Doctor. Now we see these massive insect-like creatures, 4 of them to be exact. These are who I expect to be chasing the Doctor and Mel down the road in the earlier scene. This would also make sense why there's so many people panicked and running away in that scene as well, because if you saw these coming towards you, you'd turn and run away, wouldn't you? Then we go to another episode, which appears to be set in space. The Doctor seems to be wearing similar clothes to what he was wearing in the Unit episode, but his jacket is in leather this time, which makes me think it's a different episode. We see what appears to be the Doctor standing on a mine that gets activated on the planet when he sounds on her. Although this could just be 2 different scenes put together for the trailer to make it seem like this, and it could have no reference at all. We then see Ruby standing in front of the wreckage of something in the background, asking the Doctor if he's scared because he's just babbling.
Are you getting scared because you're just babbling now?
This adds up to maybe he's standing on the mine and he's just making nonsense up, and she's deducing that maybe he's a bit worried about her. We also see a scene from the same episode of Ruby hugging the Doctor tightly in the TARDIS doorway, with the Doctor saying,
"I'd love it if you came with me."
This line of dialogue is probably going to take place during the first episode, so it doesn't necessarily match up to the video that we see in the trailer. There is one more scene of the Doctor's eyes close up, which could fit into this episode based on the background, but not much is given away, so I don't know if it is this or it's something different. It also seems like we're going to get another episode that's TARDIS and Vortex based. Both are wearing clothing that looks like they've been doing some TARDIS maintenance, with the Doctor saying, "Into the Vortex," before pulling a lever and Ruby holding onto the railing, looking a little nervous about her. There's also one more shot, which I believe is either 7 or 8. I believe they might be a 2-parter episode, so it's the same story. Ruby is standing outside the TARDIS, looking worried and scared, whilst a mysterious figure is watching over them at the hills. Remember, this season will only have 8 episodes, so this will be the finale of the season. I believe this figure standing over them may end up being the boss that the Meep mentioned, or the one who waits the Toymaker mentioned. During the commentary for the Star Beast, David asked producers Phil and Vicky if they knew what this line meant, and both of them said yes, which means the story of who it is in development, at least this season or next. Thanks for watching this look into Season 1. Let me know your thoughts on this teaser, and most importantly, your opinions on the renaming of Series 14 to Season 1. See you next time.